This week on the True Geordie Podcast, the strongest man on the planet. He deadlifted 500 kilograms. He won World's Strongest Man 2017. He's known as the Beast, and his name is Eddie Hall.
That's exactly it. He did his event and he was jumping with joy. All his team were fucking wanking him off, celebrating. Flowers were going, fireworks. Yeah, and then when I beat him, it was, but you've disallowed a rep. It's not. And it's like.
But you're happy, mate.
Yeah, it went from literally one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
I was destined to be an Olympic champion. Destined. I am narcissistic, but in a way where I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I think I'm better than everybody else in strong. And that's different. That's what my whole was, depression. And I had to do something, I had to have a goal to stop me sitting in the house and potentially slitting my wrists. So Eddie, how do you think you're going to feel when I pull the 500? I was like, Benny, cut the bullshit. I said, do you know what I see in your eyes right here, right now? What? I was like, I see me pulling 500 kilos. And I just saw his body language change. Like, before competitions, I was like a caged lion.
Yeah.
You couldn't, if you interrupted my schedule, if you made me miss a meal, or a training session or a physio session, you were fucking getting your head ripped off.
Something I've always wanted to say.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Today on the True Geordie Podcast, we have the strongest man on the fucking planet.
Wow.
Alright?
Yeah.
Eddie Hall, thanks for coming, mate. I've been hassling you for a while, haven't I?
You have, mate. Yeah. No, it's good to be here, mate. I'll be like, this is my first ever podcast.
Start with the best, mate.
Start with the best, as they say, yeah. But yeah, I've never had the time, and I'll be totally honest, I've never listened to your podcast, mate. I've never listened to any podcasts.
Fine.
But podcast, but it's not like he prefers someone else.
It's fine. I can handle it. I'm used to this because when I first ever messaged Eddie, and this is legit, it was about 2012. And I direct messaged him, and I was like a big fan then, even, right? So I've gone back a while, and I was like, mate, you got any like tips for like weightlifting, anything like that? And obviously you must get that message a fucking million times a day.
Yeah.
And his reply was, do your push-ups and eat your Weetabix. And I laughed me out, and I thought, fair play, go and do your own fucking research as well.
That sounds something I'd say,
yeah. So I did. Now look at us.
Yeah.
Fine.
You look like me in 2012.
Looking good. But yeah, actually, I think that was the year I watched a documentary, and I worked out, I think that was the year that you went to the world's first time round.
Yeah, I think 2012 was my first World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, and now you've won it. Like the whole documentary that's out on Netflix, if anyone hasn't seen it, go and watch it. Eddie Strongman is all about this pursuit of winning the World's Strongest Man title, and the conclusion that comes at the end of the movie is like, what if he does win it? Like, will it just be game over? Is that it? Is this the end of Eddie? Because you're just so driven. Mm-hmm. Now you've done it. Does it feel like that, or?
It's very mixed feelings, mixed emotions. I've always said to myself, I've just got one goal, and that's to win the World's Strongest Man. And there's nothing else on the planet I'd rather have. There's no other title, no other accolade. You could be the fastest man on the planet, the smartest man. But to me, the most alpha male title out there is the World's Strongest Man. If a bloke said they didn't want to be the World's Strongest Man, then they'll fucking line out their arse. Every man wants to be the World's Strongest Man, and that's what, that I don't know why. It was just maybe a subconscious thing, but that's something I wanted. I just had to have in my life, and I dedicated my life to it. As you can see in the documentary, I went all out, and I've done a lot more since then. Mm-hmm. I've took steps up and gone above and beyond what people would expect to do to achieve it.
You are really underrated from the get-go, in my opinion, because it's like no English lad had done that well. I mean, Terry Hollins had got third, I think, but apart from him, it had been a long time, and people didn't seem to believe in you the way you believed in yourself, and you've fucking proved a lot of people wrong. How does it feel like when you got on that podium and you're actually lifting it above your head? What was that moment like?
Well, that's exactly it. It's proving the naysayers wrong, and that's honestly what fuels my fire. You know, when I say I was going to win the UK Strongest Man back in 2011, you know, I'd probably done 3 competitions before that, and I put a status on Facebook the week before saying I can't wait till I win UK Strongest Man next week. You know, proper cocky, arrogant little twat. But I've always backed up my bullshit, and that's the difference. Always backed it up, and I suppose when people say you're not going to win the world's strongest man, it hurts, you know, because I put my life and soul into it. So, honest to God, it was those people that would make me do those extra reps, force feed that little bit extra food, do that extra physio session, that extra stretching session. So, not in a spiteful, I told you so sort of way, but in a way of, I've proved you wrong. You know, you can do amazing things if you put your mind and soul to something. You can achieve anything, literally. I'm living proof of that.
Yeah.
I think there's something that strikes me about when you look at you as a character. You also, when you watch your documentary. I watched it again last night because I thought I need a reminder. There's some quite emotional moments in there. But there's something that most people don't realise about the world's strongest men. It's actually quite a brave decision to go down that path in the first place. Because like the saying, documentaries can be quite lonely. You're alone for a lot of the day. It's an extreme on the body, which is something that if you climb a mountain or you run long marathons, you instantly see. But people assume strength and they think, well, he's only getting stronger, that's good for him. But you're pushing your strength to an extra degree. There's quite a lot of bravery. Did you realise how much there was? Do you think at the beginning of your journey you realised what it would take to get to this point?
I mean, I committed to becoming the world's strongest man when I was 19. You know, I said, you can ask anyone in the local gym, I said when I was 19, I'm going to win World's Strongest Man one day. And pretty much to the day, from my first contest when I was 19, 10 years later, I won the World's Strongest Man. So it took me 10 years of solid, hard graft. And it is, I couldn't, if I described it the worst way possible, it still wouldn't be enough to show what I've been through. You know, it's the huge sacrifices. It's from the age of 19, I've probably missed, God's honest truth, 10 training sessions, never miss a meal, you know, stretching, physio, hot cold treatments. You know, I've even gone to extremes of taking loans out to buy myself a hyperbaric, you know, chamber. Bought endless amounts of physio kit, shockwave machines and TENS machines. I have invested well over 6 figures on my body, well over, you know, and that in itself is a huge sacrifice, because I'm like every other guy, you know. I've got mortgages to pay and I've got a wife and kids to support, and it put a massive strain on me, you know. I mean, the wife, fucking hell, man, I've been with her 7 years, and so we've only just had our first holiday together. You know, we had a holiday when we first got together 7 years ago, and then it was like every time we'd mention holiday, but there's this competition coming up, so I can't have a week off because it'll, you know, I might not win that then, because a week off takes you 3 weeks to catch up. Nights out you never do, because you've got to eat at certain times, you've got to be in bed in certain times. I've literally missed every parents' evening for the kids, school plays, birthdays. I've been away competing or training. Even Christmas Day, you know, I've got to go and train. You know, I have to eat a certain time, and I fuck birthdays up, I fuck Christmases up. But you know, and I've nearly lost my wife several times over it. But I've always said it's going to be worth it one day for that, you know, winning that trophy, and it was, you know, all that hard work and sacrifice, and it was all bull, you know. To me, it was bullshitting myself constantly. It was, this is for a reason, and every time me and the wife had an argument about me, you know, not going out or having a holiday, it'd be, but just wait till I win the World's Strongest Man and it'll all get better. You know, I've promised that every year for 7 years, and then it's fucking happened. You know, it's been worth it.
Where'd you go on holiday?
We went to Mauritius, which was like, you know, an Indian island, and it was fucking fantastic.
Did you you went to Mauritius as the world's strongest man? Or was this was just after you won it or something like that?
Yeah, well, I literally I think it was last week or the week before. That was 7 years worth of holiday and the honeymoon all in one. So we went all out.
That's a lot of a good time.
Yeah, we had a good fucking holiday. It was.
And that's quite literal, actually. Especially with the honeymoon. Yeah, that is incredible. Though.
Yeah.
When I'm watching and I think when I'm watching the documentary, I think it's not just a documentary that lads are going to watch as well, because you really feel for your wife and then you see it from her point of view with someone who's also sacrificing for your dream, and that pursuit of excellence that you're on, and just everything's not important. I've just got to fucking get this dream, and she is on that, just right next to you the whole time. When you did it, was she there with you at the time, or was she on the other end of a phone when you told her?
No, the only person I took out to World's Strongest Man with me was my physio. So everything back home was all done through the internet, you know, Facebook and update websites and whatever. So and that in itself is tough as well, because but that wasn't through lack of, you know, funding or whatever. It was the fact she wanted to come, but it was I'm just so fucking selfishly driven, and it's like, you can't come, babe, because I've got to look after you. I've got to make sure you're fed back
this
at the
isn't
hotel.
The holiday.
And I'm like, I'm there for one reason, and one reason only: win the World's Strongest Man. And you see other athletes taking the messages out, taking the mates out, and I'm like, it's fucking idiotic. It's stupid to me.
This is work.
Is that something you saw other athletes doing then? They went alone? Or does some, because like you're saying, you look up to a lot of the other guys.
Yeah, of course.
Do they take entourages, or are they alone?
Yeah, I mean, Thor had something like 30 guys there with him.
Is it Floyd Mayweather style?
Yeah, proper Floyd Mayweather style. He, he stayed in his own flat. We all stayed in a hotel. He stayed in his own flat. He brought his own chef over.
That Game of Thrones money looking after him, man.
Yeah. You know, he went proper diva at Worlds. But you know, I think at the end of the day, no amount of entourage can beat hard work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, since you brought him up, actually, it's probably a good time to cover this, because there was a bit of controversy at World's Strongest Man. There was, you know, people saying he was wrongly stripped of reps that he'd done, and then other people came back and said, well, if he'd got that rep, then Eddie would have done the barrels quicker or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you cover that a little bit and explain what went down and what your opinion is? Because he had a rant on Instagram afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was very bad sportsmanship from Thor. But regardless in his head whether he was done over or not, you don't go on to social media and slag your own sport off. You know, it's really bad for the sport. So that's one thing. The second thing, you know, Europe's Strongest Man, when he won Europe's Strongest Man, I was the first man to shake his hand and say well done, and that was not repeated to me at World's Strongest Man.
Can I just ask, do you give a fuck?
No, I don't give a fuck, but it just shows what character Thor is, and
it's disappointing for you.
It was disappointing. It was very hurtful, actually, because, you know, you worked your dick off all year for a contest, you know, and me and Thor have had battles before, and we've been that close. You know, we had a contest out in Malaysia, I think 2014, where we came joint first, and he won on countback, and I still shook his hand and took it like a man. Europe's Strongest Man, he beat me by one or 2 points. Basically, whoever won that last event won. And he beat me, you know, and I took it on the head, you know. But to be honest, that second place at Europe's is what probably gave me that last little bit of fire in the belly, that last month of training for the Worlds. That was like, right, fuck you, I'm going to get you back for that.
Yeah. So
I think that if I'd have won Europe's, maybe I wouldn't have won the Worlds, because I wouldn't have had the same fire.
Yeah.
You know, so some things work in your way. But anyway, back to the controversy with Thor. No, I can't go into too much detail. You know, I'm in contract, but
find out at Christmas.
Basically, find out at Christmas.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it in a general way. So there was an event where you went out and did X amount of reps. Okay, so Thor went out before me and did X amount of reps. I went out after. I said to all the referees, the TV crew, how many reps do I have to do to win this event? X amount of reps. I went out and did X amount of reps. Had, I think, nearly 20 seconds left on the clock. Put the apparatus down and walked away. So...
That makes sense.
Right, so... And then after, not before, after I'd gone, Thor then came out and said, because you've disallowed my 1 rep, Eddie's now beat me. But why didn't he say that before I went?
Yeah.
This is my major quarrel. If they'd have given him that extra rep, I would then have gone out and gone, how many reps do I have to do now?
Yeah.
I'll have done that.
Well, you'd used the 20 seconds that you had as
And
well.
I'd have used the 20 seconds to make sure I would have done that. It's complete... I don't know, it's all these yes men around Thor. Because I remember Thor walking back into the tent after he did his event, very happy with his result, very happy. You know, he'd beat everyone by 3 reps on that certain event. And, you know, it wasn't until I went that he was unhappy with how it went. And that just seems to me like, oh, I've been beat, oh, let's try and fucking retract it, you know? It was just bullshit, but I'm not going to say any more about it because I am in contract, but he will look such a fucking dick at Christmas, and that's all I need to say. I don't need to say anything because all the facts will come out. You know, people have been stipulating and saying brakes on a plane and all this kind of shit, and that is just fucking ludicrous. Yeah. You know, the end of the day, the man got beat fair and fucking square in a strongman contest, and he can't take it.
There's a lot of questions that come off the back of that, aren't there? Like, when you saw he came back in looking so satisfied, what does that make you think?
Well, that's exactly it. He did his event and he was jumping with joy. All his team were fucking wanking him off, celebrating. Fucking pot, you know, flowers were going, fireworks. Yeah, and then when I beat him, it was, but you've disallowed a rep. It's not, and it's like.
Thought you were happy, mate.
Yeah, it went from literally one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And that's why if he'd have done it before I went out, then fine. You know, I perhaps would have given the gratitude and the whatever. If the referee said, yeah, I'll give you the extra rep, whatever, I'd have gone out and done whatever I needed to do. But 3 referees watched the footage back on Thor's
his reps.
It's what's his word? You know, the discrepancy.
Okay.
All 3 reps said it was genuine. He should have been disallowed. Magnus Magnuson, an Icelandic himself, said he would have disallowed 4 of the reps.
I heard a lot of people were saying afterwards, after watching the whole thing.
And this is the same referee who disallowed my world record deadlift back in 2014.
Oh,
you know, so you can't say he's biased.
Yeah.
You can't. And
because he's fucked you over before himself.
He's fucked me over myself.
And you took it fair and straight.
And he got criticised for that because he then, because of that, Benny Magnuson won that deadlift event, and I didn't. So, you know, he got criticised, but I took that like a man, called him a prick, then apologised, and then I shook Benny's hand, and I just took it on the head. You know, if shit happens, but to bring it all to public knowledge and try and demean me was really bad sportsmanship.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, sure, mate.
There's something that I think strikes you that I always watched World's Strongest Man as a kid, and it never struck me that you can always see there's a little bit of compatriotship between you guys. You all get on very well, but I think what your documentary shows is how close some of you guys are, eating lunch together, those sorts of things. That's not, you don't see that on the final product. You see quite a polished thing. I think your documentary shows that quite well, how close you guys are. What's it like then when someone swaggers back in, thinks he's all that, and then throws his toys out the pram? Does that alienate him from the group at all? Because you guys seem very close-knit.
100%. You know, I think the feels for certain strongmen in the camp are the feels, everyone feels the same.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, and as you can probably see on some footage, you know, me and Brian get along great.
Yeah.
And I massively respect Brian. He is the definition of a professional athlete, because I've never seen someone as professional as him. He takes everything so serious and to the dot. You know, he doesn't sway. He doesn't sway off track. He doesn't fuck about. He gets shit done, and he knows what he's doing. And he uses it like me. He uses his resources. You know, he pays someone $5,000 to do his diet plan. He he does the hyperbaric treatments and he's got his own hot cold tub like myself, and you know, he invests in himself, and to be honest, that's who I learnt that from. When I started seeing him spending $400 a week on physio and $400 a week on food and but you know, it just added, he's spending like over $1,000 a week on his own body a week. And that made me realise you've got to invest in yourself. And I'm pretty much throwing that kind of figures out myself, you know, 250 quid a week on food, 250 quid a week on physio. I mean, 500 quid a week just on those two things alone, that's a good fucking wage in the UK, you know? And luckily I've got the sponsors to pay for all this. And that is, honest to God, the only reason why I got to World's Strongest Man status is because I had the fucking backing. And why did I have the backing? Because I've got the branding. You know, and that's a big thing as well. You've got to showcase yourself, and you've got to make the sport entertaining. I don't want to be one of those boring twats that walks out, does a lift, fucking goes back in and pats himself on the back. You know, I want to fucking be proud of my achievements and proud of who I am, and that's the difference, I think.
You're not just a weightlifter, mate. There's a hell of a lot more to you, that's for damn sure. But from the first second I started watching Strongman, it was like, honest, who the fuck is that tattoo? He looks like he's from 300. Straight away, like, you stand out a mile and you're screaming, I'm the beast. That people just instantly like, who's that guy? You're a small businessman. You sort of took from like that WE wrestler sort of mold and brought it into strongman. But ironically, just going back to the fact that, you know, Thor's claiming he was shafted. If anything, it would seem to me that it would be in the interests of the people who organise the event to make the most famous celebrity in the event the champion. So why would they then give it to the lad from England? Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
it just didn't all add up to me. And I'm sure when everyone watches it at Christmas, they'll have the same opinion as me. You know, it's just literally a man has literally thrown his toys out the pram because he didn't get his own way. And let me say one thing. I mean, obviously, you might have heard the stuff that's going on with Thor in his personal life in the minute, which I'm not one to judge, and I don't really give a fuck. But the fact that when he didn't get these reps disallowed, you should have seen the way he was standing over the referees and trying to get his own way. And I thought to myself, you fucking twat. You know, literally using his size and presence to sort of try and get them to change, you know. I mean, Colin Bryce was the head referee, and I could see him getting fucking scared when all this was going on. You know, he was I think he was quite worried he was going to get banged on top of the head or something, you know, which I think in itself is wrong as well. Well, there you go.
What's it like having a room, because all of you think you're the alpha, or are the alpha male in that room? Not many times you get dynamic where there's so many men in the room who all rate themselves above the others.
Do you ever see any scraps kicked off out like that? Like,
no, I've never seen any tempers flown whilst I've been in the game, to be honest. I've heard fights have happened in the past. You know, and tempers have been erupted, but that is the alpha male in these men, because that is what they are. At the end of the day, they are there to prove a presence. You know, they're not there to make a number up. They're there to make a fucking presence. So, it's a tough one. They're all nice guys, you know, and the camaraderie is good. But at the end of the day, when that fucking whistle blows, you want that guy to trip up and smash his face. And that's the truth. That's the truth.
I love it.
You know, people say they want, people say they wish, and there are people out there that will wish other athletes on.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that'll never win.
Yeah.
You know, they're the nice guys. The two nice guys always finish last.
And you are the bad guy.
I'm the bad guy. I'm happy being the bad guy. You know, I don't care. I'm out for myself. You know, end of the day, when you're out there, you're out. I'm not a team. You know, I'm not a football team. I'm not paid millions and millions of pounds to go and support England. I'm there for Eddie Hall.
Do you prefer that you're on your own and it's just you, and so then you've got no one to blame if it all goes tits, then it's on you?
Yeah, pretty much. If anything goes fucking tits up, it is all on me. I mean, I've got a fantastic management behind me who does all my commercial stuff, and he's kept me out of some rather good, you know, rather bad mither. And he's sort of my mentor as well. You know, he's in his 50s. He's been there and done that, made mistakes and made some good mistakes. You know, some good choices as well. So I think I've just been very lucky with my surroundings, as well as the branding that I've done. that I've just had the perfect opportunity. You know, if I didn't have the backing, or if I never met my manager, I'd never had the money to buy the physio, the hyperbaric chambers, and you know, I've just had a great journey, very lucky, great journey.
How did you meet your manager?
So my manager now, he is the local millionaire, basically. You know, he's very well known in my town. He owns Waterworld. I don't know if you've heard of Waterworld.
I've heard of Waterworld because that was the one place everyone wanted to go when you went on a school trip. If you live in the Midlands, it is one of the most magical things that you're ever going to have.
So there you go. So he owns Waterworld. He probably owns a quarter of Stoke, to be honest. You know, he's and basically I joined one of his gyms, and he asked to see me, and we had a quick meeting. I think he was a bit worried. Basically, I was going to come in and destroy all his equipment. So he had me in, I think, for that reason. And then, you know, I sort of said, no, mate, that's not the case. You know, he's got a great, you know, it was like a spa session, you know, jacuzzi, sauna, cold pools and all that. So I joined for that, you know, to use the swimming pool and everything. And he basically said, well, what the fuck are you doing here? You know, and I said that, and he says, well, why? You know, what's all this about? What are you doing? And I was working at the time as a full-time athlete, full-time mechanic, and I had my own door security, you know, company as well. So he basically said, do you think you can be the world's strongest man? Look me in the eyes and tell me. And I said, yeah, I can fucking win the world's strongest man. He says, well, what's stopping you? I said, this. I said, I can't, you know, I've got mortgages to pay, I've got bills to pay, I still have to work full time, I've got my own door company. And I said, I just haven't got the time to recover and train. I said, I can't afford my food, and I can't afford to travel to destinations to compete, which is ridiculous in itself. So he literally there and then shoot my hand and said, quit your fucking job, I'm going to back you. And that's how it started.
It's always good when that happens.
Yeah, it just started like that. And he's basically got, he's obviously being his status, he's got lots of business associates, and basically they all chipped in and sort of helped me out. And it's been amazing. The support from the local businesses in Stoke has just been fucking bob on.
Yeah.
You know, they can all take a bit of pride in my title, because they definitely helped me.
It's nice when people from your hometown get behind you like that.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I had the same backing, to be honest. Fucking Janos won't even fucking follow us on Twitter. Probably because I'm making them look bad.
Yeah.
It's hard when an amateur upstage as a professional.
Yeah, that will often happen. One question off the back of that is...
Can I start asking questions?
No, I've got some great questions. There's also... What I find quite striking about World's Strongest Man is one of the few competitions in the world where there's nationalism, but it doesn't seem like nationalism which has got that nasty edge to it.
It's the old-fashioned style.
Like a sort of, it's the old... There's a bit of pride about that. You guys all carry flags out, and there's an element of that, but it's not sort of... It's not EDL. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. I think because it is the world's strongest man, they've just got to separate us by country, basically. That's the only way to do it, you know. And obviously, it's sold off to so many countries. I think it's sold to something like 90 countries, the world's strongest man. So to have, you know, obviously they have the England representatives to put England next to your name, then when they sell it to English TV, it's so much easier. End of the day, it's a money making competition, like everything else, like the NFL, like football. It's all about money, you know. What
frustrates me about World's Strongest Man is I feel like it's such a good sport now, and it's come so far, and people like you are bringing it into the mainstream particularly, but some of the ways they put the content out there is still very 1970s. Like the fact that it isn't live is crazy. At this point to me mental. Like I'm like, people want to watch these guys. They're not looked upon as the big strong guys. They're athletes now. People like, especially because like gym life generally has come on so far in the last 20 years. People want to know what you're doing and the training methods and all of that, and I just think that they need to make it live at some point. Are you feeling a bit like that? Or?
Yes and no. I mean, the thing is, it was so tough to get it live because the World's Strongest Man final is spaced over 2 days, and you need 2 days. You know, it's like 3 or 4 hours between each event, and you need that fucking recovery time. So if you're going to make it live, then it almost makes it impossible to the athletes to recover. You know, because you want to, if you're going to do a live show, you've got to fit it in 2 hours, really, haven't you? Minimum, at most, I think. Yeah. Otherwise, people are going to get very bored.
Yeah.
You know, watching blank TV whilst they're setting up other events and stuff. You know. I honestly think the best way forward for the strongman is the way they are doing it now. Is making it, you know, doing these shows, editing them down, making them into a professional show, and sending them out to TV that way. If it was a live, I just don't think it'd have that
potentially.
That
and he works like you come from the TV.
I'm already thinking of formats. I've got a few in my head.
But potentially, if they could find a way where the lads could still have that rest and then.
Well, here's my answer. Why not run things like your documentary in between the events? Because if there's, you know, they do this little sort of twee packages on people, and you know, we're getting to know them in 5 minutes. That's all well and good, but like if they ran a documentary on each guy in between each event, maybe 2 documentaries. A little bit of social media in between, people feeding back, talking to some of the guys' camps.
You'll be getting the job soon, mate.
I'm not joking.
Let's keep our ideas to ourselves, mate.
No, but you know,
these.
there's what I understand is if you sell it to TV, it's more lucrative than if you do it online, and that's the big issue right now.
Yeah.
If you sell it online, you know, we got 16 million views the other day for a fight. That you can't monetize that in the same way as send that to English TV, American.
Yeah, I just think strongman's the only way you'd do it would be like the Olympics. You know, you'd start off with the heavyweights. Once the heavyweights done event 1, you then go to the middleweights event 1, lightweights event 1, then back to the heavyweights event 2. That kind of thing. You perhaps do that, but I think that's a long way off. And would the world pay to view World's Strongest Man?
Yes.
They would, but do you think they'd get the same amount of money as the money they'd get off selling to 90 countries?
That's where we come in.
I very much doubt it.
Can we go back to your upbringing then? Because I am fascinated by the fact that you were like a champion swimmer and all of that as well. What was it? What were your mum and dad like with you growing up? Did they realise what they had on their hands early on? And like,
yeah, I mean, I'm the youngest of 2 brothers, 3 brothers, sorry. So I've got 2 older brothers, Alex and James, and we were little fucking bastards. We were horrendous. You know, looking back now, I don't know how the fuck my mum and dad got through it. Mum and dad were very, very good parents. You know, my dad worked his arse off in a factory for 30 years. You know, never at home. Hardly ever there at the weekends. You know, he's a very drained, mentally drained and physically drained man. I saw him fucking hate life basically. Mum was a swimming teacher, and she worked with disabled children, you know, mentally and physically. And but basically that's where my swimming career started, was the swimming. My mum basically just chucked me in a pool at age 2. And that was it, swim or fucking drown, and I swam. And that's how it started, honestly, that's how it started. By age 5, I was in a swimming club, swimming for Newcastle Swimming Club, and the 2 older brothers swam there as well. And that's where the competitive started. Not from the other swimmers, not from people my age, but I'd have to beat my older brothers. I'd have to. And that's just sibling rivalry, that's human nature, isn't it? You know, you want to be better. You don't want to be better than your brother. You want to beat your brother at stuff. You know, you put 2 pizzas on the table. Bet I can eat that quicker than you. Go. You know, it's constant, isn't it? When you're a child, everything's a competition. So that's where my swimming came in. You know, it very quickly. Everyone my age, I was twice as fast, and then I was moved up a group, and I'm swimming with brothers, and then I'm starting to catch them up, and then by age 10, surpassed them. And it's like, right, I'm better than those 2 at swimming now, so what's next? Let's be the best in the country. So at age 10, I was literally training 17 to 20 hours a week in the water. You know, before school, after school, I'd get up at 5 in the morning, I'd cycle down to the swimming baths, do an hour and a half session, cycle to school, do a day at school, home, food, and then cycle back to the swimming baths for another hour and a half session every fucking day. You know, I was driven. I was fucking driven. I think I was 11 when I won my first nationals. You know, I was the best swimmer in the country for my age. Broke British records. You know, from people that have been and gone to the Olympics. That's when I got on what they called the Olympic potential squad. So I was basically seen as the Olympic future of the country. So I was put into this squad, given a bit of money, you know, my own coach, my own nutritionist, given extra help with anything I wanted, basically. And that took me three years in a row on the nationals, and I smashed a fair few British records. I was destined to be an Olympic champion, destined, you know, and I was so driven. And then it just got ruined, you know, age 13, I just fucking hated it. Don't know why, don't know what happened, just...
Was it the monotony of the swimming?
It was this Olympic potential squad that was on. They brought in these Australian coaches, and you've got to do it their way or no way. I went from swimming 15 hours a week to 20 hours a week, doing all different strokes. You know, I was a freestyler, and this guy made me do breaststroke, backstroke, butterfly, and I'm like, I'm a freestyler. Why am I doing these things? And I hated it. I fucking hated it. And it all came to a head. I used to go on these swimming camps with this Olympic squad. You know, you go to Loughborough, and London, all sorts of places, and you'd spend 2 weeks, you know, doing these camps. Literally, fucking sergeant drill. Up at 5, swim, yoga, eat, take a shit at this time, stretch again, eat, take another shit. Right, you can have a piss then. That kind of thing, you know. And I just hated it. And I think it was towards the end of one camp. And you used to have this stupid system where, you know, if you were late for a meeting, you get a black tick, free ticks, and you were sent home. I'm like, this isn't me. I'm not fucking destined for this shit. Yeah. So, you know, I got 2 black ticks. I think I got caught smoking in one of the hotel rooms, set the whole fucking building fire alarm off as well. And then it came, you know, Bill Sweetenham wants to see you, you know, the head Australian coach. And I said, fuck it. I said, tell that fat cunt come see me. And that was it. You know, I was gone. Out the squad. I thought I got back to Stoke, and I'm like, fuck it, I've given up swimming. Carried it on for a bit, but I just dwindled. All my first place trophies turned to second, thirds, fourths. Lost interest. 15 years old, I was expelled from high school.
Can you remember what you did?
Loads of things, mainly involving my dick, but loads of things.
Never heard that before.
Yeah, you know what kids are like, you know, flopping your dick out everywhere you can and that kind of thing.
Funny, I got expelled for the same thing when I was 8.
Yeah, good
Except
man.
You were just always going one better. Okay.
No, I think the last straw was, there's one lad who was just an absolute fucking dick in my year, a bit of a bully. Yeah. Beat one of my mates up, and it was snowing at the time, I'll never forget it. And I said, right, this is the plan, we're going to throw a snowball at the twat, let him chase you into the woods, and I'll wait in the woods. And that's exactly what we did. I beat the living shit out of that fucker. Wow. But he couldn't take it like a man, and the police were involved, school, and I just got expelled. So that was the end of school career anyway. Home tutored, which is the best thing that ever happened to me, to be honest. I got 7 GCSEs, A to B, not A to C.
Okay. Fuck me.
Yeah, so believe it or not, I was very, very bright at school. I just chose not to fucking put it into lessons, you know.
I think it's mad when you look at schools generally, though. Like, for me personally, when I'm sat in a room full of kids, like, whenever I would get more one-on-one time, I would just find it so much better.
Yeah, that's where from 15 to basically my last year and a half of high school, I had it home tutored, and I learned so much more. Mm-hmm. And that year and a half, I went from probably a D grade student to an A B grade, which is quite phenomenal, really. Mm-hmm. And obviously, when I was 15, when everyone was at school, I actually joined a gym. And every day, you know, everyone would get up and go to school, I'd get up and go to the gym. Mm-hmm. So that's where weightlifting started for me. At 15, I'd go and hit a bit of weights, and I started training with a local powerlifter, bodybuilder, and he took me under his wing, and that's where we went from there.
That's ideal, isn't it, when you get in with someone who knows what the fuck they're doing, because unfortunately, and I get lads messaging in all the time asking, should I do this, should I do that, and you see lads in the gym and their wrists are going, and fuck me, mate, you're gonna kill yourself.
It's tough. But as I say, from day one, I had pretty lucky in the gym, because, you know, everyone in the gym had the stigma of chest and biceps, and that was it. You know, they wouldn't train legs, back. But because I trained with this, but he was in his 40s, you know, and I trained with him every single day, he'd be like, right, we're doing legs today. Oh, fuck, I don't want to do legs. You know, what's the point in doing legs? No, we're doing legs. So from day one, I was forced to train properly.
He didn't let you skip leg day.
Didn't let me skip leg day, which was probably the foundation of everything, really.
So you didn't even have all the mistakes that a lot of kids will make. You learned properly,
not really,
correct form and whatever.
Yeah, you know,
straight away.
Very lucky.
Was he hard on you? Was he telling you, like, you know, do this?
He was very hard on me. Yeah, he was. I'd say he was in his 40s. He was quite a bit of a hard nut as well.
That's ideal. That
the kind of guy you wouldn't look at him twice in a nightclub. You know, he was a fucking nasty bastard. So yeah, it was ideal. At age 19, I just found I was the strongest guy in the area, probably the strongest guy in Staffordshire, and I thought, fuck it, I'm going to enter a strongman contest. And at 19, I entered the Blackburn Strongest Man, I think, and I came 5th out of fucking hell, about 20 guys, I believe.
Is that footage in the documentary where
where I'm shaking hands with Mark Felix?
Yeah. And that almost looks like that's just in a car park somewhere.
Yeah, that's the way strongman is.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally a car park sport. You know, it's growing, but that's the foundation of the sport. It's a circus sport at the end of the day. It's an entertainment sport. So yeah, I went from there really, and that's believe it or not, I won England's Strongest Man when I was 21. I never trained strongman. I just did bodybuilding. You know, I just wanted to get big and look good.
Did you ever consider going down the building route?
I did, but then I just realised how much of a fucking bunch of pricks bodybuilders are. Very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I shouldn't have said that. It's just not my scene.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding's not my scene.
Well, it's very different.
It's
one's getting on stage to show off, and it's both ego-driven, I guess.
Very narcissistic.
It's also worth saying that your hero was a bodybuilder as well.
Of course, Arnold was, yeah. I just found bodybuilding at the time just I suppose, in all honesty, I found it too hard.
Right.
To gain strength and look good at the same time.
The diet and stuff.
But I found strength easy, and I found a 6-pack hard. So I went for the strength route.
Strength, or you felt you were more naturally predisposed towards strength.
I was a big lad. You know, you got to bear in mind, because of my swimming career, I swam until I was 16. So at 16 years old, I was 16 stone, and honest to God, I was probably 8 to 10% body fat. I was fucking ripped.
Yeah.
I was, you know, I'm big. For a 16-year-old, I was big.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got the foundation, really. You know, the swimming, I already had muscles everywhere. The lung capacity.
Yeah, that's important.
Huge lung, you know, mine's off the scale, you can't even measure it.
Yeah.
And also heart function as well.
Yeah.
Because I actually found out over the years that swimming is one of the only sports that trains the aortic valve on your heart. Mm-hmm. So basically, because when you're swimming, you're holding your breath, and it stretches and it conditions it, basically. So I've never had any heart problems over the year, and I've had many scans and whatever else.
Mm-hmm. What I was thinking, another thing that you definitely seem to gain from swimming is the state of mind, which I think is one of the most important things you've got.
Yeah.
That I'm beat this guy, I'm gonna beat this guy, and going back to your brothers and competing with them, that sort of conditioned you for what you do all the time now.
Yeah. And again, I was very lucky. My coach, when I was, I think, 9 to 14 something, he trained Olympic champions. You know, he trained, basically his athletes had won gold medals at the Olympics. So I had one of the best coaches in the country at my local swimming club.
You got very lucky in many ways.
Very lucky in many ways.
One thing I'm interested in is when you talk about being a 5-year-old, like you saying, I can remember being a 5-year-old thinking, right, I'm going to beat him. Mm-hmm. Like that winning mentality, that passion to succeed. Is that just in you, or is that something you think you've developed through experiences as well?
I don't know. You know, they always say that in successful athletes like that, there's something missing. You know, there's a dark hole, and I couldn't tell you what that dark hole is, but I'm always trying to fill something. Mm-hmm. You know, there's something that makes me want to drive on and be successful. Probably to stop me from getting depressed.
When you talked about your dad earlier and how it was obviously hard watching him do a job that he obviously wasn't in love with and he was draining over the years, like me personally getting into YouTube, I wanted to do something that made us happy and I enjoyed, and I'm guessing watching him become more miserable doing what he was doing, did that ever spur you on to think, I want to do something I'm in love with so that I don't have to?
I think so. I mean my dad, I sort of admired him and felt sorry for him at the same time, because especially where we live, it to get a good job is just fucking impossible, and he was literally stuck in a rut. You know, he was working as a health and safety officer at a chemical plant for 25 years, day in, day out, and from the sounds of it, the company didn't appreciate him. He was doing the work of 3 men, and I think it was about 3-4 years ago he quit his job, and they had to get 2 people to replace him, which says a lot, doesn't it? You know, they're really working the fucker. And I just don't want to be in that situation, because, you know, I've worked. I've been a mechanic. I was a mechanic for 10 years. And hand on heart, nobody can say they're happy working for somebody else. You can't be. How can you get up every day, work 9 to 5, take home 400 or 500 quid a week, and the person you're working for is worth billions? You know, I was working for Muller Dairies.
Yeah.
You know, £1 billion company. And how can you be happy? You can't. It's bullshit. You can't be happy. So, and that I suppose my dream all along was to work for myself. I don't want to have a boss. You know, I want to be my own boss. And I'm not very good with authority. I really aren't. You know, I'll get on with work. You know, when I was mechanicking, I'll get on with work. But I just couldn't deal with somebody, you know, a little jumped up little fucking cunt telling you what to do, basically. You know, I just couldn't deal with it.
There's so many parallels here.
Yeah.
I speak like exactly like you're saying right now all the time. I've actually got a picture of us saying be your own boss on my Instagram. I'm the same. I hate being told what to do. Do you know what I mean? But
that's interesting, because I actually don't mind being told what to do. But I'll never rationalise that it's about that person. Because I feel that what I find interesting, a lot of guests say I didn't get on very well at school, never really enjoyed it. I was the complete opposite. I got on fine at school, always enjoyed it, just put my head down and did what I was supposed to do. And I think school was probably made for someone like me, but I can understand why it's not always made for those other people. What I do find interesting about you as a character, though, is you are quite open about calling yourself a narcissist.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because it's
seen as a bad thing.
It's seen as instantly a bad thing.
But it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Because it's only a bad thing if someone's a narcissist and they don't know it.
Yeah.
That's bad. You know, you get women that literally plaster makeup, wear Prada, drive a Mercedes, and fucking literally think they are better than everyone else. Put their nose up at people, and I've seen it, and they're fucking horrible people. But I am narcissistic, you know, but in a way where I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I think I'm better than anybody else in strongman, and that's different. That is a different thing. I'm not above anyone in life.
Yeah.
You know, even someone in jail, I'm still worth the same as they are. But in my chose, like when I was swimming, I used to walk around with my fucking bollocks swinging like I was King Kong. You know, I used to think I was the dog's bollocks. I used to think I was invincible. And when I started strongman, exactly the same, like you said. My first appearance on TV, I had a mohawk, a beard, screaming. I just loved that attention, and I love to entertain. And I think that's my persona. That's all it is.
It's that combination of awareness and being
narcissistic.
Because the whole, I think, obviously it comes from the Greek myth of the Narcissus, who was like completely obsessed with her own image and hate, and it almost rejected people who said you're amazing. They thought the opposite and sort of mocked them.
And I think that's why I'm so, when I see these negative comments and the naysayer comments, that's the narcissist in me going, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, you're wrong. I'm going to prove you fucking wrong. And that's so it's in me, but I'm aware of it and I control it. You know, I don't
channel it in a way.
I drive around in a $4,000 car. You know, I don't give a fuck about materialistic things. I'm not a show off in that respect. I just want to do well at my sport and entertain at the same time. And you've got to be a narcissistic twat to do that. You've got to think. You've got, like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is probably one of the most narcissistic men on the planet. But because he was that narcissistic, I'm the greatest. He said he was the greatest before he was the greatest. Yeah. And that's what made him fucking famous. And that was his branding. Exactly the same with me. That's my branding.
And nobody thinks that he was a narcissist now because he achieved.
You can't call Arnold a narcissist now because he has been in the past, but that narcissism got him to where he is now.
Yeah.
You can't hold that against him. You know, that arrogance turns to confidence.
Do you think there's also elements of that so for instance, a lot of people relate depression and narcissism, and sometimes it can have that, I don't want to call it a dark side, I think that's so cliche, but it can have that side where it can also lead you down.
If you don't achieve, then you start feeling...
Maybe if you don't achieve, or maybe if you just feel like something's gone wrong. Like I think you in your documentary, again, I don't want to give away the whole thing, it's worth watching even though we're speaking about every subject you've got in it. You speak about the depression that you felt when you knew your grandma was dying of cancer, and that was a 7-year period, and that's a very long time for someone to be depressed.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I think that's what my hole was, depression. You know, and I had to do something. I had to have a goal to stop me sitting in the house and potentially slitting my wrists.
Yeah,
I had to have something to be active every single day, and I think that is my hole. In reality, is the only thing I can think of is depression, and stuff like my nan and the family, and you know, getting expelled from school and falling out with the swimming coach, and it's just all these things were fucking manically depressing, you know. And every time these things happen, they'd be like, right, fuck it, what's the next goal? Let's concentrate on that. And then I put all my energy into that, and that depression would go away. And don't get me wrong, I've had some bad depression in the past when I've lost my ways. I don't know where, you know, when I got expelled from high school, it was fucking tough. It's fucking hard, man, because you're just thinking to yourself, fucking hell, I'm fucking my life up here. You know, I'm 15 years old, I'm expelled from school, I'm probably going to end up in a fucking, you know, some institute for fucking idiots or whatever. But that when you're at that time in life, it is worrying, and I think it's the worry that makes you depressed.
It's because as much as I was good at school, I also remember a lot of adults. I sort of got a bit behind the curtain because my dad was a teacher as well, and they would talk, you know, about people who are self-destructive and they just write kids off.
Yeah.
Do you think you were one of those kids who was written off by
fuck yeah, 100%, yeah.
How did that must have felt pretty fucking shit at the time, because it's clear that you're not that kind of character.
There was a very defining moment in my life where I was an absolute fucking class clown at school, you know, but I loved to make people laugh. I think I was a funny guy, you know? And it was just before I was about expelled, and it was actually a substitute teacher that put me in my place, you know, and I was a fucking cock for him the whole class. And he said, Ed, just stay behind, mate. So all the class left, and this guy gave me the biggest bollocking of my life. You know, he literally pushing me in the chest, and you fucking prick, sort your shit out, who do you think you are? And he's like, what are you going to do when you're older? I was like, I'm going to be, because at the time, you know, swimming. I was like, I'm going to be an Olympic swimmer. The fuck is that, you fucking idiot? He said, what are you going to do if that doesn't work? Work it, you know, be a paper boy. And I was like, fucking hell, it really hit home. And I was like, fucking hell, I am fucking up here. And it was about, I don't know, a month later I was expelled, you know, 2 months later I was expelled. So it fucking hit home. But I think that made a big change in my life, where it was like, fuck. And that's when I had the home tutoring, and I made a real go with me. My exams did well. And went from there, really. Because
it's hard to ask this question without sounding disparaging of your parents, but I'm not asking it in that way. You say they're great parents. Most people, you know, when you see a kid's expelled, people go, it's the parents. It must be the parents. So what makes you say the opposite of that? Because I'm not passing judgment on them, but there must be a reason why they're good parents. Do you know what I mean?
It's my personality. I mean, I've got a son now who's just come up to 5, and he's got very severe ADHD. He can't keep fucking still. Can't keep his mouth shut. And I think I was the same. You know, I had some sort of unique autism where I just couldn't keep still, couldn't keep my mouth shut, and you know, and abide by rules, and I think that genuinely, because you know, my 2 older brothers, and they were fine. You know, they got in some shit, you know, of course they did, but nothing like I did, and that's just, I genuinely think I had some form of very unique autism in my own little world, where, you know, autistic people get really weird traits, you know, they do things and they have to be driven, and you know, they have to concentrate on something. And I think I was exactly the same.
They think differently to regular.
Think differently, yeah.
I'm undiagnosed almost.
I'm relating a hell of a lot to you here, I've got to say. I mean, everyone who watches this regularly, I'll know that I'm relating a lot to you, because a lot of the things you're saying about yourself I've said about myself and that without knowing it. And I just feel like sometimes people like me and you, these types who have they need to have something to tunnel this vision on, and they need to channel this. Otherwise, we see people every day who their lives are a fucking shit tip, and I sometimes look at people and think, if I'd not found YouTube or I'd not channeled all of this in, that would be me. Like, and I know I came dangerously close to, like, because it was just by chance that I ended up here. And do you ever think, if they'd not found Strongman, like, what the fuck would have happened to you, sort of thing? Or
if I'd have never found Strongman, I'd probably be like my dad, stuck in a fucking rut, working a shit job for good money, but just, you know, working till you're 65, missing all your kids and wife. And to me, you know, that is, if people want it, if people are happy with that, then they're fucking lying. Who the fuck wants to work till they're 65 and 9 to 5? You know what I mean? That's a long fucking time, a chunk of your life gone, innit? My plan when I got into Strongman was I want to be retired by 30. That was my plan all along, and I've pretty much stuck to it. So I just, the Strongman definitely kept me going. If I never got into Strongman, I'd be Joe Bloggs, or I'd be like my dad.
I was going to say, you two are almost quite lucky you were born in the time when you were, because you were born in 88, same
Yeah.
So you two were quite lucky in the time you were born, because it was before the time when people go, that's ADHD, or that kid's got a learning difficulty. And instead they just go, he's fucking difficult, get rid of him.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like you say, your son is diagnosed with, I don't know specifically what he's diagnosed with.
He's not been diagnosed yet, but I think he's got some sort of ADHD, maybe even autism. He's very hard work at the minute, but he's still trying to settle into school life, and I can see so much of me in him. But
there's a few routes those kids go down, having seen, because sometimes kids get told you've got ADHD and then they go down that almost the dark side of ADHD route. They make a bad identity out of it, whereas I'm ADHD, I can't do anything in life. He's almost lucky to have a dad like you who'll go, I'm exactly the same as you, and this is how we're going to deal with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and that's exactly it. So, I mean, with my son now, we're just getting to that age where I'm going to start getting him into some sports. You know, whatever he wants. You know, I'll just make sure he's got all the backing, do whatever the fuck he wants.
What's he taking?
And obviously, I've got a lot more time on my hands now.
Yeah.
A lot more. You know, all those years, basically the first 4 years of his life, I've been missing, and that's the God's honest truth. He's just turned 5, and I can make up for it now. You
can guide him to channel it, and so he's going to be alright.
I can, but this is the help I never had.
Yeah.
But actually, it is. But because I was forced into my swimming by my parents.
Your mum was a swimming teacher.
Yeah. So I think that was, luckily, their way of controlling me was get on with your swimming.
How does your wife? Obviously, she's his main carer. How does she handle your son? Do you think it's difficult for us?
It's difficult. You know, he doesn't listen. He does what he wants. You put him to bed, and he'll literally stay up till midnight, just throwing his toys around the room, or he'll keep coming down, want food or want drink. You know, he hasn't gone to bed before 10 o'clock to this date yet. He's just so active, and he'll get up in the morning. He's literally jumping around the room like Tigger. You know, he's nuts. So. But my wife's doing well, genuinely well, and she's a fantastic mother.
I got quite emotional when I watched you on the documentary, like when you were like getting upset about it and that, because I don't know, like I think it's probably the first time you'll ever watch a huge giant of a man getting that emotional, especially over a woman. Like it's sort of, it takes everyone back. That I think it would have changed a lot of people's opinions about you as well.
Yeah, it's.
Were you embarrassed about that afterwards, or were you just like, this is me?
That's me.
Put me out there.
It's me. It's just the way I am. It's like family's important. Family's very important. Yeah. There's no point being a big ignorant ogre. I'm Eddie Hall. I'm World's Strongest Man. I'm not. I'm a family man.
First and foremost, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because actually it's a touching moment, but it didn't feel disingenuous. You do see a lot of documentaries where people cry, and you feel a bit like they've gone, "We'll drop this bit here to make it." Now
well, you can tell he was holding on.
You can tell it's a really well constructed documentary, I've got to say. How do you think your dad feels when he hears you say, he's been stuck in a dead end job, or he wasn't the guy that I wanted to
I
be.
know my dad very well, and he wouldn't take that as an offence.
No, but how do you think it? Because he's clearly very close with you. There's a very touching moment where he's at your event that you've organised, and he's clearly as proud as you are to be there on that day.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of relationship you have with him?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, me and my dad are dead close. We spend loads of time together. He comes to all the strongman shows. It's just very supportive. But yeah, I mean, regarding to he knows he's been stuck in a dead end job for 25 years.
Yeah.
He said it himself.
Yeah.
And when he quit his job a few years back actually, and just from the sheer stress and strain of it, and the difference in him. Fuck, it was like a different person. It really was a different person. He went from being a really sort of miserable, tired, middle-aged man to a man that was enjoying life. Literally, he started doing agency work now, and he earns probably 10 times as much and works 10 times less. So, and he's so much more happier. He's so much more happy. It's nice to see, because I've grown up with a guy that has literally sacrificed his whole life for me and my two brothers and my mum. So it's nice to see.
When you started progressing through the weightlifting, and you're getting into doing your competitions and that, at what point did you start gaining that confidence? Because I feel like for people who lift regularly, there's sort of a point where you just start gripping the bar a bit tighter. You start really knowing, all right, I can fucking push myself here and take this further. Was that when you were training with the older guy? Was it during that time, or?
I mean, the real confidence came when I won the first UK Strongest Man. That was the sort of defining moment where, fucking hell, I've just won UK Strongest Man. I'm the strongest man in the UK. But then it got knocked down when I went to World Strongest Man 2012, and fuck me. I went in there as UK Strongest Man, and I come out feeling like a little girl. Genuinely.
Jesus.
Genuinely. You saw Brian Shaw, you saw Sojournus, you saw Thor, and at the time I was 150 kilo, something like that. I don't know what.
That's about my size for
anyone. I was
anyone.
about 24 stone, thereabouts. And I felt
tiny.
I felt fucking tiny. Genuinely felt tiny. You got, Thor was 6'10", 33 stone at the time. Wow. And I was just like, fuck, I've got 10 stone on me, and about 6 inches as well. Probably in that department alone.
Oh, Christ.
I've seen Thor's cock as well, and it's like a horse.
That's an exclusive. He's pissed off at him, but he's still got to give him credit on his dick size. That's when you know it's a good.
Thor says the same thing back though, so that's alright. You know what I mean?
We're all agreeing here. We've all got 10-inch dicks. So that's the story, and we're sticking to it.
All of us. So what is interesting though is when you first go into that environment, it is. That's what I'm interested in. Is how do you fit into that? Because again, it's a room full of alpha males, and you're almost one of the pretenders.
Well, I wasn't the alpha male when I went to the Worlds.
No,
didn't feel the alpha male at all.
But you must have turned up thinking you were.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I thought I was going to dominate. I thought I was going to make the final and do good, mid-range. But fuck me, I got slaughtered. I won a couple of events. I won the Viking press and the squat, I believe. But then on the yoke with the sack race, just last basically 4th, 5th, 6th.
Did you feel like the new kid at school a bit, like when you went in?
I just felt a bit out of place. But you got to bear in mind, to this point, the only strongman training I'd done was strongman contests, and I'd probably done 10 contests to that point. I was still training as a bodybuilder. I got in my mind, I'm not going to start training strongman events until I'm super fucking mega strong. Build the basics, the squat, the bench, the deadlifts. Until I've got them right up there, I'm not going to start training strongman. And that's exactly what I did. 2013, I was first reserve for the Worlds, so I just missed out on the final, and that's when I thought, fuck, I can make this, I can win the World's Strongest Man. And it's when I came back from there, I started training strongman. I joined Strength Asylum, the current gym now, and I bought some strongman kit, invested a bit of money, like yokes, York logs, all that kind of crap, and at the stones, and got on with it every day. I'd train legs and then I'd do yoke, I'd train chest and then I'd do log, I'd train back and then I'd do stones every day. I'd do my training as I normally would, and then I'd do event training. So I incorporated it.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was exciting. The thing that kept me going the most was seeing improvement week in, week out. Literally every week I'd come in and do another rep on, 200 kilo bench. Every week I'd be like 7 reps. Next week I'd do 8. Next week I'd do 9. And then I'd up it to 220. And then I'd be, it just constant. And I loved it. I loved the improvements.
One of the events that you're most famous for now is the deadlift. Was that just day one beast, like just naturally great at that?
I was never the best at deadlifting. When I think 2014, my PB was 400 kilo at the start of 2014, and then they announced the World Deadlift Champs, and I thought to myself, what the fuck can I do to sort of win that? Because at the minute I can only pull 400 kilo. So I heavily researched deadlifting techniques, programs. I did a lot of stealing. I studied Andy Bolton and Betty Magnuson heavily. Studied Brian Shaw's technique, and the programs. I basically wrote my own programs out and stuck to them to a T. And fuck me, they worked.
Yeah.
Just for general thinking, I realised that the human body can't recover from a deadlift. The back end of 10 days. Yeah. So if you're coming in every week and deadlifting heavy every 7 days, you're never recovering. So that's when I got in my head, right, so if I do a heavy deadlift session, I need to do a week of speed deadlifts to help me recover. Mm-hmm. So 1 week when you're doing the heavy weights nice and slow, you're training the slow twitch fibers, and then the next week when you're doing speed reps, you're training the fast twitch fibers. And that's when I realised you've got 2 sets of fibers in your muscles, in all your muscles. You've got to train them both. Yeah. So I did a week of speed and a week of heavy, and I did that for 6 months, and my deadlift went up to 460 kilo in 6 months.
So that speed obviously is the acceleration off the floor.
Yeah.
And then when you're dragging
that's the hardest bit. If you can snatch it off the floor and get it to about your knee height, you've got it.
Yeah.
You've fucking got it.
And I've noticed, because I've looked at your technique quite a bit, because Benny's totally different to you. I look at his and I'm just like, fucking hell, that looks painful, that and I think that is one of the main reasons why you got 500 and he didn't as well, is because your technique is so much better than his, in my opinion. Yeah. You seem to deadlift like a small man who's been blown up, if that makes sense. You've got that, do you know what I mean? You've got perfect technique.
Yeah.
So that makes complete sense. So how did you, when you did the 4-6, was it the 4-6-1 where you dropped it?
Yeah.
I know you sort of covered that in the documentary, but what we didn't get to see is you really the days afterwards and that. What was it like when they'd sort of taken that away from you?
It was very dark, very depressed. It was a massive climax to that show, and obviously pulling a world record and then to have it stripped. It was tough, I nearly thought to myself, fucking hell, what's the point? It just felt so pointless after that. But that weekend I pulled that deadlift was the flick switch moment in my career. So I literally got back that weekend and said to the wife said to me, actually, if you can do a world record deadlift, you can be the best in the world at deadlifting, then why the fuck can't you be the world's strongest man? You've just proved you're the best at something. Now go out and fucking win the worlds, be the best at that.
It feels like Adrian and Rocky. I'm getting proper chills.
And I sort of said, you know what, you're fucking right. You are right. And it was literally that so that was the Saturday. The Monday, I never went back into work. I rung in work, did 6 months sick pay. Fuck you, Muller.
Good for you.
It was literally around that time that I thought, fuck it, I'm going to turn pro. If you have to take loans out and borrow money, I'll do it. But luckily, this was the time that I met my manager. And during that sick leave period, he promised me to sort me out, and that's when it happened. So it was the deadlift that actually defined my career. It was that. If I'd have been given that lift, maybe all this never would have happened. I wouldn't have had the fire in my belly. Yeah. It was the fact that I had it stripped
that
made me fucking angry.
It's also very public. It was a very public thing to have.
Or thousands of people watching it.
I think it was 5,000 people probably in those stands.
Yeah, there was about 5,500 people there on the day,
Yeah. And then obviously also your peers directly in front of you, directly to the side, cheering you on. Because there's that camera angle from the side as well when you're picking it up. They're actually cheering you on as well.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like what you said about Europe's as well. If I'd won Europe's, maybe I wouldn't have pushed myself as hard as I did. So when that happened, you didn't get that 500. Can you tell us a little bit about, because that was, in my opinion, the most watched weightlift of any type.
Hundreds of millions.
In their history. Yeah. There's not even close. I'm going into the gym, little old ladies, old men talking about Eddie Hall 500. What was that like? So, I think it was the year after that I did the 463 kilo at Europe's, and I pulled it so fucking easily that I just decided there and then I'm going to pull 500 kilo. And I made it public. I was like, if anyone wants to put the money up front, I'll fucking pull 500 kilo. And that's pretty much what happened. Protein Dynamics put the money up, and I fucking went for it. And I still train for World's Strongest Man, but I put my heart and soul into my deadlift sessions, and I put my heart and soul into the physio, the recovery, the stretching, everything. Fucking everything was landing on that one day. That was it set me up for life. That 500 kilo did. It really did. In no other way anything ever could, because nobody can take that from you. And it, in my eyes, in my mind, pulling that 500 kilo would have made me the strongest man in history ever. And that's why I wanted it. And all the naysayers on the 500 was the worst I've ever had. Really?
I've never seen such negativity.
Beforehand, when you were trying to do it,
I've never seen such negativity.
What were they saying
in the sport? So,
where's it coming from? Because
Facebook, general chit chat in the gym. Because I was very open about it. Every week I'd be like, I can't wait to pull that 500 kilo off the ground and leg press the world away from me and all that kind of shit. Just bigging myself up so much. I don't walk on this planet. I spin the planet beneath my feet. That kind of shit. Yeah. And just the backlash from that was like, this guy hasn't got a chance in fucking hell. Every comment saw like possibly 470, maybe 475, but no way 500. And every single comment I read, I was like, let's fucking keep it coming. And it really did fire me. It got me so fucking angry that people said it wasn't possible. And I knew in the back of my mind it was. I knew it was going to be dangerous, and I knew it was a big risk to take, but I wanted that strongest man in history status.
To rewind a little bit, have we skipped a step where you lift in front of Arnold Schwarzenegger and he's cheering you on at the side? Because that was the 462?
So 462.
462, where you just finished another competition in America. You flew to Australia the next day, wake up, and they give you a call and say, we've got the world record right here, come on and break it.
Basically how it happened, So went from Arnold's America, so I did the Arnold's in Ohio.
Of course, yeah.
That didn't go how you'd wanted.
Didn't go how I wanted. I didn't have a chance to train for the event. Not making excuses. The Britain's Strongest Man was a month and a half before, and I couldn't train for the Arnold's. Simple fact. And you have to train. You can't lift 700 kilo yoke on your back without fucking training for it.
But you were still gutted by that, weren't you?
I was gutted. Because I wanted to fucking win I go into every contest to win, and if I don't, it's massively disappointing and sends me in a massive depression. Yeah. So on the back of that, I was asked to go to Australia. Literally flew from America to Australia.
3 flights.
3 flights. Landed, and then the organiser, Tony Doherty, who I think it was the first time the Arnolds had ever come to Australia. He wanted to impress Arnold. So he asked the strongman team, what can we do? And Colin was like, well, Eddie, we'll get someone to pull a world record deadlift. And I think, from memory serves right, I think he asked Brian before me, in all honesty.
That's not the way it's told in the documentary.
Yeah, I know, but I think he did.
Yeah.
What did Brian say?
And I think Brian just sort of said, no fucking chance, I'm fucked. So he asked me, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'll try it. I'll fucking go for it.
Did you know Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be there on the day?
Yeah, that was the point. It was... I knew it was going to be there, but the timing was just up in the air. So it was 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. You got to pull world record deadlift. So we went there, we did it. We were doing the warm-ups, doing the lifts, and then it's like, fuck me, it's like he's running late. And I'm like, right, sorry guys. I said, I've got to do it now or else it's not going to happen. So I just got on with my lift, and just as I strapped onto the bar, Arnold fucking came around the corner. I was so zoned out, I didn't even know he was there. Did the lift, smashed it down, and then in the celebration realised who the fuck was stood there. And it was just fucking incredible.
Because he's shouting at you, isn't he, from the right
yeah,
side?
I didn't even know he was there, honestly.
Wow.
It wasn't until I did the lift, dropped it, and started doing the celebration afterwards. I just spotted him. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, because the footage you pull away and you almost go the opposite way to him.
Yeah, I was just going to go celebrate with the crowd and fucking smack everyone in the face, you know.
See the look on your face when you recognise him and you start going towards him and it's like, what do I do now?
Yeah,
it's a really great moment.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And it's great because afterwards he interviews and he says, you had another 10 in you. And you can see there's a light bulb in your head that goes, yeah, I did actually.
He goes, at least.
Yeah, at least another 10.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fucking lovely moment in my life, that was.
That's a movie moment.
I met Arnold before that, but for him to actually sort of look at me and recognise me and see me as someone, he pay attention to me was fucking nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. Because he's the biggest star on the planet in my eyes.
And to blow away your idol. And for him to admire you,
exactly.
It's one of those moments where you're like, fucking hell, I've looked up to you my whole life and now you're admiring me. That's how far I've come.
Yeah, it was good. It was nice. Definitely.
It's not, but then obviously that's a big number. 500's a massive number, and that's a big distance from 462.
That actually is one of the the 500, because I wasn't really frightened for you as a fan of you when you did 463.
462, yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's just Eddie, that's what he does. But 500, mate, when you pull that bar up and you did it fast, that speed work has definitely paid off because you ripped it off the floor. But it's when the blood's pissing out and he's like, and your fucking head's just, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That is the most frightening weightlift I've ever seen. It was like, it was almost like one of those snuff movies. Do you know what I mean? You're like, Jesus, like what's going on?
Well, the footage they showed wasn't actually the face. The face they showed was from the 463.
Was it?
465, the lift before. Because on the 500 they couldn't show it on TV because there was so much more blood coming out my face. It was coming out my eyes, my ears, my nose. It was fucking everywhere.
Fucking hell.
Could you feel that at the time?
No.
You're just absolutely in the zone. Adrenaline.
I was just focused on that lift. Got it to the top, and I just remember looking at the crowd and then just waking up on the floor.
Right.
And literally, I aren't kidding you, a puddle of blood like the size of a 14-inch pizza on the ground. I was just like, fucking hell. In and out consciousness. Everyone's saying to Ed, just get up and fucking make out you're alright to the crowd. So it took every ounce of strength for me to get up and do a little speech. Went back and I just collapsed. I was fucking gone. Paramedics were on me. Blood pressure was over 200. Pulse was like 180. Just everything was just fucking going into shock, basically. But no injuries. That's what I was expecting, to rip my fucking hamstring off or something, and nothing. Bit of a sore back the next day, but nothing at all. It was.
And since then, you've said you think you can go like 500 plus, yeah?
Yeah, I genuinely, I genuinely think I could pull sort of 550.
550.
550.
Without bleeding, or?
It doesn't matter. He doesn't give a fuck.
There'd be a lot of bloodshed.
Okay.
He's like, can we do it without the blood next time, Eddie?
We just want to be able to show it on
just
TV.
less blood.
Less blood is good.
But how I felt on that day, I perhaps could have pulled 550 and maybe 520 would have been an absolute fucking maximum. I'd have still, it wouldn't matter if it had been 490, 480, I'd have still have passed out and whatever anyway. It was just it was the length I held it there where I fucked myself up.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the months afterwards, I just got this sort of mega drive when I was doing my deadlift sessions. Like, I've done 500 now. What can I do now? And my sessions were just every week just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And And then obviously at the Worlds in the final, I pulled an X amount of weight, and I made it look so fucking easy in 2007, this year's 17. And everyone, they asked me afterwards, like, what do you think you could pull right now? I was like, put 540 on the bar, I'd fucking whip it up.
Wow.
And that's how I felt. I genuinely felt that fucking strong.
How did the other strongmen react once you come round and they were talking? Were they hyped for you, or were any of them jealous, or because you just like you say?
And again, it's all mixed emotions. It's I think most people came up and shook my hand in absolute fucking shock because they just couldn't believe I'd done it.
Because they know what that's like to try and lift that weight.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I've spoke to loads of people about it, and even people like Colin Bryce, who organised the fucking thing. I said, did you actually think I was going to pull it? In all honesty, I didn't think you were. And that's the guy who bigged up the promotion, and
he's the one who's supposed to believe in you more than anyone.
Believe in me more than anyone.
Yeah.
Nobody. I don't think anyone believed I was going to do it deep down. Nobody thought it was possible, and that is quite humbling. For them to say that is in a way wanking me off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is. It's like, wow, fucking hell, Ed.
That's a fucking good wank, right?
Yeah. It's just what for someone to say you've done like I never thought that was possible. Yeah. Fuck me, and it's like, you know, the grinning from ear to ear hearing that, because
you're breaking down perception of what is possible for a fucking human being to do. Like, it's not just lifting weight, like someone hitting a PB. You're literally setting PBs for humanity at this point.
And that's it. And you know, people say, who else is capable of doing that? And there is people capable, but do you think anyone's going to pull for over 500 in my lifetime? At this point, I can't see it happening. I genuinely can't see it happening. I don't think that's going to be broken for a while.
That's part of it, isn't it?
But that's why I wanted it. It was the magic number. It was the 500.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they were effing and ahhing before the show because Brian Shaw wouldn't come over because there was no weight in between 465 and 500. They were like, you know, why don't you just even the directors of the show were like, why don't we just put a 475 or a 480 in there just so you know, like a fail safe.
Yeah.
I was like, no. I was like, fuck Brian Shaw. I was like, if he doesn't want to come and try the 500, I'm not having you sort of put a weight in. Like you put a weight in at say 480, he pulls that, and then I fail the 500. Where's the fairness in that?
Yeah. I
said, I want 500 kilo. I want to know how much I can fucking do. So, and that's how it went, basically. It was. I mean, Benny wanted to do it. Benny was fairly confident he was going to do it, but I think we had a training session 3 or 4 weeks before up at Darren Sadler's gym, and we were sort of winding each other up and, you know, playing mind games. And there was just one moment where Benny was very chirpy for the whole session, you know, very happy and whatever. And then we got into the banter, and it was like, so Eddie, how do you think you're going to feel when I pull the 500? And I was like, Benny, cut the bullshit. I said, do you know what I see in your eyes right here, right now? What? I was like, I see me pulling 500 kilos. And I just saw his body language change, like, I was like, I've got him.
Yeah.
I'm so good at mind games, I've got the fucker now.
It's like a fight in many respects. It's not like that McGregor
was,
style shit.
The mental stuff is the most important thing in these sort of things. And when I saw that reaction of his, that in itself made me gain more confidence, because I knew that he believed I could do it. And Benny said to me after, he says, I knew you were going to do that 500. I said, I just didn't know you were going to do it so fucking fast. And that in itself was fucking humbling. That was nice to hear.
It's interesting because I think the perception of Britain or England before that was very different in the World's Strongest Man, wasn't it? It was sort of like, you guys were the nearly rans, you know, well done, you almost got there.
A bit like in the football.
But it was a little bit. It was a little bit like, thanks, but the Vikings are here now. Do you know what I mean? And now you're the ones who are. No, I'm serious.
That's true.
That's the way they saw people.
Yeah.
And it was like, and you're redefining the way that people see Britain essentially as a nation, because you're leading the way rather than sort of being like, what they're doing is nice, I might do the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, the title hasn't been in the UK for 24 years, and that's a long time. It's a long time not to have a title, you know. And I genuinely believe that once that's aired at Christmas, on January 1st, that every fucker's going to want to be a strongman.
Yeah.
You watch the gyms fill up with people lifting logs and outlet stones. There'll be a big demand. And it's like the rugby, when we won the Rugby World Cup. Everyone all of a sudden wanted to play rugby. It boosted the sport.
People are going to want a piece of you.
Yeah.
Show them the money. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Big offers. I've got you first on money.
Yeah.
All right.
So, we'll have to wait and see. But I think I've just brought the sport back to life for the UK.
Yeah.
One thing that is unbelievable for me, mate, is the fact that you hit this goal and you're saying, I'm going to do more. I'm going to keep on going. What else can I do now? That state of mind that you've got I think that's what makes you different to all these other, because genetically you don't strike. I mean, your static strength is fucking insane, but what I mean is that you look at the other lads and you'd maybe say, maybe other guys should be stronger than you in theory, but up here you've got so much more determination than them, it seems, anyway.
Yeah, it's thing is with any sport, hard work always beats gifts. It always beats talent. Always. You could like Thor. He's 6'10". He's probably a natural 25 stone without even fucking trying.
Great actor.
Yeah, great actor.
Entourage. It's got that as well. But you put me and him together. You put us side by side, and it just seems, But for the eye, he looks stronger than I am. But I it's that hard work and dedication. I've made sure that's not the case. I've made sure I'm the strongest, and that proved at World's Strongest Man. There was no stone unturned with me. Nothing. I mean, Thor in previous years made excuses. They'd done too much film work and sacrificed this, sacrificed that. This year he had no excuses, because he said he put everything aside, and I was exactly the same. I turned down film work. I turned down appearances. Lost hundreds of thousands of pounds, if I'm being honest. You think you might take them up in the future?
Yeah, now. But all that money, all that fame, I could have done what Ford done. But I've got the World's Strongest Man title now, and to me that's way more important. And all those film roles and appearances will be repaid tenfold for that one title. So it was worth making all those sacrifices.
So in between, I think you came third and then winning World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
Did that year just go perfectly to plan?
Fucking perfect.
Yeah.
No accidents, no injuries. I said I come back from 2016 and I invested in the hyperbaric chamber. And that was a big difference, I mean,
what does that do? What's do you feel different?
Yeah. I mean, a hyperbaric chamber is. To be honest, Google it. It's so hard to describe.
It's basically better oxygen.
It's used for diving, ironically.
Yeah, it's
I used to be a diver.
So there we go. But the basic. And I spoke to a professor in America who actually uses this on athletes.
Yeah.
So it's basically a chamber that you get into, and it's pressurized. Now, a normal chamber you see on TV, they depressurize it to put less oxygen in there, so you produce more red blood cells. Yeah. This is the opposite.
Yeah.
So you pressurize it. I was pressurizing it to 27 psi, which is just under 2 atmospheric bars, atmospheric pressures. So it's basically like being 50 and 20 meters underwater in deep sea. And with that pressure, I was then force feeding in oxygen, pure 100. I think it's 95% pure oxygen through a mouthpiece.
Right.
And all that pressure, so everything's open. All I've got is like a snorkel mouthpiece in my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm just breathing oxygen, and it's being sucked out as well. So it's in and out. And basically, whilst I'm in the chamber breathing this pure oxygen, all the pressures, like 25 psi pressures, forcing the oxygen into the muscles where it wouldn't normally get to. So all those little, capillaries and arteries and whatever, it's getting to those areas, hence oxygenizing the muscle and repairing.
Yeah.
1 hour in the chamber is the same as having 12 hours out.
Yeah.
So if you're doing an hour every single day in the chamber, you're getting 3.5 days extra recovery on everybody else, and that's exactly what I was doing. So I was getting another 3.5 days recovery on every other athlete.
Does it feel good?
It's not nice.
Right.
I'll be honest. It's like it's claustrophobic. I'm not claustrophobic, but when you're in a tank on your own, I was literally doing it at 12 o'clock at night. I'd get in a tank, and there's no locks on the door because the pressure seals the door.
Wow.
So if you panic and want to get out, you've got to release the pressure, and you can't release the pressure too fast
because you get the bend.
Because you get the bends. You could literally blow your eardrums out and
He's
blow
a
your
fucking
lungs
mad
up.
scientist.
Yeah.
So it was dangerous, and I made this kit with an engineer. I built it myself. So it wasn't, it's not exactly medically passed, as they say. So it's fucking dangerous. It was, but I was willing to take the risk. And I read all the horror stories of people dying in these chambers. Going a bit too far, and also the because you're inhaling oxygen. And although I had the carbon dioxide and the excess oxygen sucked back out, there's a good chance that was getting into the chamber, and if it oxidizes the chamber, if you create a little spark, bang, and I'm not kidding you could blow up the whole fucking street.
Yeah.
It's that dangerous. So, I had to earth it to the ground, and all. I was so careful, but it was a big risk.
Did you
That
get
just
high in there,
shows.
essentially? Do you get a little high off the oxygen?
Just a weird feeling. You'd come out and feel a bit lightheaded, but then you wake up the next morning, you'd be like you've had a week off.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty good. You could tell the difference in the recovery.
Yeah.
That just shows the extent you're willing to go, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh fuck yeah.
That is the fullest that anyone could go.
Well, I say it, and I had to take a loan out to buy that thing. It was fucking expensive,
Wow.
and stuff like the physio. That's when I come back from the Worlds 2016. That's when I upped my physio. I was doing over 200 quid a week in physio. The food bill went up to 250 quid a week.
What was an average day like food wise? Because I know everyone's like, I've had loads of tweets about
food.
What does he eat and stuff like that.
So it'd be instances where I'd set alarms at 6 a.m, get up, have a litre protein shake with bananas, coconut oil, nuts, protein powder, about 1,500 calories. I'd go back to bed. I'd get up at say 8:30. I'd have a full English breakfast, loads of sausage, bacon, loads of good fats, loads of coconut oils. I'd have beef jerky. I'd have toast. I'd have loads of fruit. Honestly, huge breakfast. Probably 2,500 calories just for breakfast. A litre of cranberry juice. There's 500 calories in a litre of cranberry juice. 11 a.m. it'd be 100 gram of cashew nuts. Dinner time it'd be spag, but steak, chicken, pastas, rice, big portions, 300-400 grams of meat, and about half a kilo of carbs. Pudding would be half a family cheesecake, and that's like 2,000 calories in itself.
Yeah.
Con's behind the camera, just looking at his left side. I could get into this.
To be fair, Con's also saying that's what I eat in a day, but I just don't do any of the exercise around it.
I'd then go back to bed.
Yeah.
The morning would be spent doing physio and stretching. Yeah. I'd then go back to bed after dinner. I'd have a couple hours kip because I needed it for the recovery, and then I'd get up about 3 o'clock and I'd eat again. And I'd have a couple of tuna sandwiches. I'd have flapjacks, loads of fruit, and I'd eat that on the journey to the gym. So I'd go to the gym on a full stomach because I train for 4 hours. I need to eat. I need to eat a lot. Have you conditioned yourself? Because I like to normally eat an hour before I go. You get used to it. I have to train on a full stomach. Otherwise I've got no energy. I've got no energy. So it'd be a 4-hour training session. During that 4-hour training session, it'd be 2 hours of 2 litres of cranberry juice with carb powder. So there's 1,000 calories each with the carb powder.
Does that carb powder taste good?
No, but it's a necessity, So there's 2,000 calories just in cranberry juice. Towards the end of the session, I'd have 3/4 towards the end of my session. Halfway through my session, I'd eat raw steak.
Right.
So literally pieces of raw steak, just get them in. Natural aminos, natural protein.
I didn't expect you to say that.
It's hardcore, but there's nothing better than a piece of raw steak when you're training because it's all the aminos, the creatines are all in there.
That's like Rocky's eggs, isn't it? This is the story.
3/4 towards the end of the session, I'd then start having my protein shake, and that'd be a litre of basically Guernsey milk, so cream basically with protein powder. That'd be 1,500 calories. After training, it'd be a litre of coconut water, to replenish the
I
electrolytes.
fucking hate that stuff. It's disgusting.
Got to drink it because you sweat so
I've
much.
never tasted cum, but that's what I imagine cum would taste like.
Fucking litre of it.
I just want to put that out. I've never tasted cum. That is definitely what it would taste like.
All three people around this table have never tasted it, right? Just want to let you know.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And then it'd be back to like the health spa where I'd go to, and I'd stretch for an hour. I'd do my hot cold treatments for an hour, and then I'd come home and I'd be tea, and that'd be spag bol, curry, the other half of the family cheesecake, and then I'd go in my hyperbaric chamber for an hour, and that'd be 11 o'clock, and that'd take me till about 12:30, and then I'd go to bed with protein bars, and and that was it, mate. It was just a constant. That was 24/7, and I'd get up and repeat that every fucking day.
You must have your own fridge.
Yeah, I've got a big American fridge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's always full of food.
I think the people who achieve the most in their life, usually, unless they're just like an artist or something like that, but people who go on to do great things, the routine seems so key. I followed Dorian Yates in the bodybuilding game, and he's a big speaker for that. And just generally, you've just conditioned your body to just being a machine. Like, you don't even, it's not really you, is it, at that point?
No, it's and obviously let's get on to the dangers of it. You know, it was fucking risky. I mean, I at my peak, I think at Europe's Strongest Man this year, I was 30.5 stone.
What are you now?
About 29.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, and fuck me, did I feel bad. It was a dark place.
Yeah.
You can't sleep, you can't walk far, you can't put your socks on. Your liver and kidney, I was having blood tests, my liver and kidney markers were on the brink. My blood was like sludge, because you just can't get all the crap I was putting in my body. Yeah. The blood was so thick.
Was it hard doing, because obviously static strength tends to be where you're strongest, but and I know you've come a long way in the other events, but it's 30.5 stone, like running around, what the fuck, man, it must have been a nightmare.
It was hard, man. And then I think it was 10 days before Europe's Strongest Man, I overdosed on, it was magnesium. Yeah, it was. Overdosed on magnesium. No, potassium. Sorry. Overdosed on potassium 10 days before Europe's Strongest Man. And basically I had to have an ambulance out, and fucking having really bad heart palpitations, skipping beats. And it was to the point where, so I was in bed when it happened, and my heart rate was about 140 beats per minute, and I thought, fucking something's not right here. So I went downstairs, and I got the missus come down with me just to watch over me. And then the pulsometer started dropping to like 130, 110, 100, 90, 80, and I'm like, this something's not right here. My heart rate dropped to 30 beats per minute. And I felt dead lightheaded, and I thought it was going to keel over. I was like, ring the ambulance. Ambulance come out. The heart rate went back up to went back up to 130, 140. They came out, did ECG. They basically said that you're not having a heart attack, but all we can see is your potassium levels are through the roof. And I was like, can you really tell that from an ECG? They're like, yeah, you can tell your potassium levels were like off the scale.
Wow.
And then I clicked. It's because I was sweating so much on the lead up to Europe, because I was so heavy. I was drinking so much coconut water, potassium tablets, salt tablets, and I basically just overdosed on potassium, and it nearly did me. Yeah. And basically for that week, that 10 days leading into Europe, so I had to go on basically a potassium-free diet, and I was quite fucking bad. It made me really ill. Yeah. And that was the lead up to Europe's, and I was luckily just on the day. I was like, me and the doctor were like, you're just about well enough to compete. Yeah. It's fucking skin of my teeth.
Which is again what people don't see on the
finished,
polished program. Yeah. Because I think at the same time, when I see you lifting you've got the stuff over your shoulders, whatever you're lifting, you think of yourself as someone like me, 12 stone, lifting that and being like, well, I could easily walk that distance. But like you're saying, it's tricky to walk long distances for you guys. It's not particularly pleasant.
No, is it fuck?
Yeah.
And like family days out were just a no-no. Yeah. I couldn't even go.
Do you ever just think of getting a golf cart and just sort of fuck it, I'll just drive around?
Love one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't go on walks with the dog or anything. Obviously, like Alton Towers and that was just out of the question. Yeah. That kind of stuff. It was just just a fucking dark place.
Yeah.
That's all I can describe
Bad visions of you at Elton Towers.
Oh fuck me, it's Podner for me, mate.
The guy who's fitting you in that fucking harness must be
I
like,
don't go any of the rides.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So yeah, it was just more for the kids.
Just
but,
the whole in
when it comes to like your health and that, I know you're like a very driven and brave bloke, and to a degree you've got to block that out as well, because you want to get this weight off the floor. But equally, and I know it's a different sport, but they are weightlifting in their training. You hear Rich Piana's just died, Dallas McCarver. I know you'll know. I think you probably met Rich, have you?
Piana.
Rich Piana.
No.
But he's at all the conventions.
I know
and whatever.
he is. Yeah.
Do any of the lads have have you ever seen anything where lads have passed away, or because I know there was in your documentary,
yeah,
was a lad on the floor, wasn't
he? Was close.
Saw a lad have a heart attack right in front of me, and I watched him get resuscitated, which was very hard to watch, but I felt as though I had to, and it just shows the dangers of the sport. But the thing is with me, and I say it in the documentary many times, if you don't see me on that number one spot, the world's strongest man, I either died trying or a doctor told me to stop. And believe me, a top doctor told me to stop many a time. Many a time. A blood nutritionist told me to stop. My own doctor told me to stop. And then the real big one was the 10 days before Europe's, when I had that fucking episode. And all the paramedics were like, there's no way you can you should be in bed for a month from this. It's really, really bad on the body. And I went, I just thought to myself, I can't. I've got 6 weeks till the world's strongest man at that point. And I said, fuck it. If I die, I die. Right. And that was my attitude. I was like, I'm no way am I giving up. I said, I've got 6 weeks. If I die, I die. And there was that in my head, that was my life. Whether I won it, came second, third, whatever, that was my last go.
And as much as I respect that attitude, was there a bit of you that you ever felt guilty towards your son and your wife?
Yeah, of course. But then there was also the other side of me that was like, if I didn't go for that last shot and I didn't win it, how could I look in the mirror every day and see a successful man and be proud of myself and be a role model for my kids? I couldn't do that, and that's probably what spurred me on more than anything, is the thought of letting down my children. I'd rather take the risk. It's the good old saying, you could spend 70 years as a sheep or 50 years living as a lion. Which would you rather? I'd rather do the 50 years living as a lion. And that's why I took the risks.
So how, I know you can't say like the events exactly what happened, but how did you find that the final year? Started off,
it was the events were quite suited to me, but there were some events in there that were fucking shit. I think the first event I came 5th on. I'm going to say what it was, but then and then I picked it up. But yeah, it was, all I can say is it was a tough fucking battle, really tough battle, and there were some points where I thought, fuck, I've lost this. And then there were some points where I was like, fucking hell, my luck's in. The stars are aligned. And it all just happened. Everything went perfect. In reality, even though I didn't win every event, everything went perfect.
Can you remember the exact moment when you knew you'd won it?
Yeah. I can't talk about that, but you'll see, and I think I do say it to camera. I knew when I'd won it. And it wasn't the last event when I knew it.
I wanted to ask what you were like after competition, because obviously you're in a relationship. Does your wife have to leave you alone for a little while, or are you sort of?
So before competitions, I was like a cage lion.
Yeah.
You couldn't. If you interrupted my schedule, if you made me miss a meal, or a training session, or a physio session, you were fucking getting your head ripped off. And that's how it was with my wife. If she, if the littlest thing was out of place, if she forgot the cabbage on a meal, the fucking cabbage would go up the wall.
Yeah.
But that you just get, because you get so worked up towards events, because there's so much pressure on you. After the events, it's depression.
Right.
It's all it is. After, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. It's depression, because you've had a massive climax up to this event, you've done it, and then the next day it's like after the 500 kilo deadlift, the next day I was at my son's birthday party. I had like 50 people around the house, and nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're just like all the family, like aunties, uncles, friends, and nobody give a shit. And it's like, you know, one or two people are well done, Ed, but you just get on with your life, don't you? And that's what's so like depressing about it. Like, you've just done something amazing, and you've got to go back to your fucking 9-to-5 life, and it's like, the fuck's the point?
Yeah.
Do you think that when you do? I mean, I know you said when I win Worlds, I'm going to hang it up. You're still competing in the UK, but is that you done with the Worlds?
Never say never.
For this year, are you saying not this year?
No, I'm not saying anything. I never say never.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Never say never.
Keep them guessing.
Keep them guessing, yeah.
But yeah, I think when you do eventually have to retire, that might be difficult for you. Do you reckon?
In all honesty, mate, I think it'd be very easy for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Even after the way you're saying.
But because I'd just choose another sport and I'd crack on. I'd set not swimming. But I'd choose another sport, I'd crack on, I'd set a goal and I'd crack on.
Right.
But there's one thing I do want to do when I retire is lose a shit ton of weight. A shit ton.
Yeah.
I want to look good. I'm sick of people calling me a fat cunt.
Uh-huh.
Sick
really?
of it. Yeah. It does get to me.
Yeah.
It does get to me. I see it a lot.
Uh-huh.
You know, you see it all the time when people share your videos. Oh yeah, it's impressive, but I wouldn't want to look like that. But you've got to look like that to be the world's strongest man.
Yeah.
And all these idiots like, oh, you know, I'd rather aesthetics over performance. I'm like, but I've got the aesthetics. It's just underneath all this. You wait till I retire, man, and I will fucking shred up and I will look the bollocks.
Yeah.
And that's a plan of mine. I want to do some sort of transformation from a 30-stone monster to like a 24-stone 0% body fat fucking freak.
Yeah.
And I'll enjoy it. And that'll probably be one of my goals.
Okay.
But people, I think that's just them, because they know not even in their wildest dreams could they achieve what you have done. There's always going to be something
I think that a lot of that is just general trolling on Facebook. People just love to put other people down. I don't get it. I don't get why someone would go onto someone's Facebook page and comment something negative. I would never do that in a million years. I would never go on someone's page and go, oh, he's got a fucking long nose, or he's got a small dick, or he's fucking fat cunt. What I just don't get that. It really, trolls really get to me. Their existence. Really? Yeah, I hate trolls.
Not the actual things they say, but their existence in the first place pisses you off.
No, what I mean is that their presence online.
Yeah.
Why go online just to troll people? It's just, that to me is a very jealous, envious, disturbed little fucking creep.
Yeah.
And the Facebook is full of them.
They're losing out in the first. I always think they're losing out in the first place. Like, those guys are losers anyway. It doesn't really matter, does it?
I don't know, man. But I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Why crash on someone else's life?
Yeah.
Get on with your own.
And
Carry on.
It's pretty relentless as well.
Yeah. Why? Just fucking get on with your own shit.
Conor McGregor says, winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. And that's simple as that for me.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, and that's what I mean. All this naysayer stuff. You know, that most of them are trolls. You know, you say. I said I was going to win World's Strongest Man, and the amount of people that say you'll never win World's Strongest Man. You're too fat. You're too slow. And I'm like, I just beat Thor in a fucking car walk at Europe's Strongest Man last week, but I'm still slow. Whatever, mate. I just ban them now. Yeah. I don't give a fuck. But it was those people that spur me on anyway.
You're fueled by emotion. I've noticed that a lot.
Yeah, massively.
You love that.
Yeah, massively.
It's good. I think one thing that we've had in the recent podcast, unfortunately, a fella we had on, his mother was the first victim of the Yorkshire Ripper, Peter Sutcliffe.
All right.
And we sort of talk about his life, and one thing that came across to me is it's not really what happens to you in life, it's how you use that, and what you're using is their negativity is just straight up petrol.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And there's nothing more, if somebody says you can't do something, there is nothing more satisfying than going out and do it. Yeah. Nothing more satisfying.
We've got some Twitter questions from your fans. Fuck's sake. First one, has he ever shot himself while lifting?
Who hasn't?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, the first competition I went to watch you was at Gateshead, and I think that was why you pulled out, actually.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Fucking hell, yeah. I went the first event, went to pick, was it a yoke?
Yeah, it was.
Went to pick the yoke up and filled my shorts.
That was my first experience of any haul in person.
To the brim.
Oh,
and you said, my hero, and then continued, yeah.
Next one's a bit easier. What can you bench? Do you ever do 1 rep maxes?
I don't know. I have done a 300 kilo bench.
Fucking
raw as well. I think in competition I've done a 285, and that was with a fuck tricep at the time.
Jesus.
So I don't know what I'm capable of, but I think if I put my mind, heart and soul to it, I could go for the world record bench. But who gives a shit? No, I don't. I just think powerlifting.
It's one of those. It's funny though, isn't it? Benching, people put so much into it, but it's nothing compared to deadlifting. Is it?
Nobody gives a fuck. You tell me who owns the world record at squat?
Who knows, mate? Yeah,
exactly. Nobody gives a fuck. Who's the world's strongest man? Eddie Hall. There we go.
The worst injury you've suffered during your competitive?
The World's 2016, I detached the ligaments on my middle finger, completely gone. So that hand is literally rendered useless now. So, I mean, it's luckily, in the next year or so I retire anyway, but any grip events, I'm fucked.
Really?
Absolutely fucked, yeah. I can't grip anything.
You're right-handed?
I'm right-handed, yeah, but obviously frames and, farmers walks and stuff, you need 2 hands.
Both,
and there's just no strength.
Yeah.
Someone's asking about your thoughts on Thor. I know you've already spoken about what happened. Have you seen him since then and squared it away, or is it just left
Not
away?
Not at all. It's water under the bridge. I'm sure he feels bad about what's been and done. I've got nothing against Thor. I don't dislike him. It's just he's got nothing against him, and I don't think he's got anything against me, to be honest. It's just crack on with your life, Thor. I'll crack on with mine.
It sounds a little bit like when you finish, essentially you've reached the peak, you're not going to go back every year and sort of go watch other people. There are certain people who stick around with the sport and commentate, or you're not into that.
Yeah, if they want me back commentating, I'll 100% be there. I'd enjoy that. I'd love to be there and support and obviously commentate on the TV for the English fans would be great.
Seems like you're quite a student of it as well. Like you study other people's techniques, like you say. So you'd be good at breaking that sort of thing down.
Yeah, I'm that's my job.
Yeah.
You've got to study and evaluate everything in strongman.
Yeah.
Everything.
Can you even describe how intense the pressure is on your body when you pulled 500 kilograms?
To describe it, geez. Well, imagine someone strapping 250 kilo to each hand and making you stand there for 2 seconds, and imagine how much strain that would put on your body. In fact, go into a gym, put 500 kilo on a rack, and if you can lift it a fucking centimetre away from the rack, I'll come and suck your balls, because you won't be able to do it. That'll give you some idea of how hard it was to do 500 kilo and the pressure.
Wow.
Who would you least like to fight out of strongman, out of all the lads?
Out of strongman?
Out of all the strongman lads.
Out of all the strongman.
Is there anyone who you'd be like, he's the last person out of that lot I'd want to have a scrap with?
I've really thought about that. Probably the least person I want to fight would be Thor, just from his sheer size and athleticism.
It helps you to be a little bit smaller, though, doesn't it? In the sense that smaller guys can get under.
No, I think the bigger you are, mate. You got to look at Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
6'9", 6'10". Just his reach and his size and natural size and strength just gives you such a massive advantage. And that's what I'm on about. Hard work always beats talent.
Yeah.
But when talent's like freakishly fucking stupid like
can
that,
punch you in the face.
That's not talent at that point. That's just being big.
Yeah.
There's actually
a difference.
One boxer who you've met recently. I seen a picture of you and Anthony Joshua. What was it like having a chat with him?
Yeah, AJ's a nice guy. Yeah, he's another one I wouldn't want to get punched by. But yeah, he's a sound lad, and fuck me, he's got his head screwed on. He's going to go a long way. I think he's going to be the greatest boxer in history. He's going to be the next Muhammad Ali.
Wow,
for sure.
That's massive. I know you've done a few boxing matches yourself, and that's on YouTube.
Yeah, nothing serious, just
Yeah.
charity stuff,
Yeah.
really. And I do keep fit with boxing nowadays. Every week I do boxing just to keep fit.
Mm-hmm.
Who's stupid enough to step into a ring with you?
You'd be surprised,
Really?
man. Yeah. I haven't had any beef for about 10 years.
You mentioned you're on the doors and that.
Yeah.
Were you actually on the doors yourself, or did you just have the
I was
company?
initially, yeah. But then I obviously set my own business up.
Any stories from that, or was it pretty plain sailing?
Yeah, there's plenty, mate, but you can't talk about stuff like that.
You've been glassed over the back of the head and stuff like that.
I've been fucked over myself many a time.
Yeah.
Many a time.
Yeah.
When what I notice anyway is when you're a big lad, they never fight fair. There's always something else coming. Like,
I mean, I've been pretty lucky. Really, I've never been really started on. When I got to about 24 stone, nobody looked at me twice. And to be honest, I don't go looking for trouble. You know, I don't give a fuck who's the hardest. That's not my persona. If anyone wants to fight, crack on, fuck off.
Yeah.
But obviously, everyone's got an angry side, you know, and I have blown my lid a few times, especially this last 4 or 5 years. But nothing's ever come of it. You know, nothing's ever come to fisticuffs, really.
Yeah.
one thing a friend told me that when they seen you one of the conventions where you do all the meet and greets and that is you got quite a lot of attention from the ladies, mate.
Oh.
The women apparently like you. Have you ever like been in any compromising situations where women have just thrown themselves at you a bit over the years?
Yeah, man. And obviously, I'm a married man. I have to be fucking
Quite difficult,
I have to be quite, sensitive about that kind of stuff. But yeah, you'd be surprised. There are some proper strong fangirls out there.
There are, aren't there? Well, I think it's the alpha male thing. At least that when I walk into a bar, you can always twig that one girl who loves a big lad.
That's the thing. And you see the girls at the gym that they're just magnetised to the alpha males, and you can spot them a mile away.
It's easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even he spots them for us now. It's great. All right. Apparently, someone said I don't have a question, but just let him know he's done Stoke proud.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, dude. Whoever that is.
And all right, which moment was better, winning the world's strongest man or breaking the 500?
Oh, fuck me. Winning the worlds meant the most. But they both like sort of supplement each other, because I wanted the 500 kilo to prove I was the strongest man in history, but you had to have that world's strongest man title to solidify it.
I feel like I always look at things from a business point of view as well, and I feel like the 500 it helped grow your fame so much.
Yeah.
Whereas the world's strongest man wouldn't have done that, but now you've backed it up. You've got the stamp of approval, and you've got that moment.
That's why the two work so good with each other.
Yeah.
It's the solidification of each other together. It just gives. I genuinely think I'm the strongest man that's ever lived. I do think that. There's no one that can deadlift more or bend. You know, in general, squatting, the overall strength. I don't think anyone's ever matched me.
You got any more questions, mate? One last question for you, mate. How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as the man who made strongman great again in the UK. I would like to be remembered as the legend, Eddie Hall, the strongest man that ever lived.
Mate, you've been an absolute legend.
Appreciate
it.
Thank you very much.
If you've enjoyed this, I'll leave the links to all of Eddie's stuff in the description below. You can go and follow him.
Documentary's well worth watching.
Yeah, definitely check that out.
We
on
watch
Netflix.
a lot of documentaries for people who come on this show. Some of them are absolute dog shit, but this one was genuinely good, and there's some tingling moments in there you don't get.
You're also releasing a book, mate.
Yeah, I am. It's Eddie. It's called Strongman. Eddie the Beast Hall, my story. It's released October the 18th. You can pre-order it now on Amazon.
I'll put the link for that in the description below. So if you want to buy it, the link will be down there. Like the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, and we'll see you later.